Hello, Dr. Dan Miller here on the 250 River with Dr. Dan. You're looking at episode 30 of our infamous series. We're doing our top five from the week that rolls into May 29th, 1775, 250 years ago. Top five things that just strike me as important in the real stories, real lives, and real people of May 29th, 1775. Let's thank our 99% factual, 1% fictional sponsor of episode 30. This is a person we go back to from 250 years ago and thank them for their sponsorship of what I'm trying to accomplish. So let's say hello and a big shout out thank you to Jacob Valk, VALK. Thanks, Jacob Valk of Charleston, South Carolina. He has available for sale. This is only for a few of you in the audience today. Those of you who happen to be members of the Anglican Church, there is a pew for sale. For a member of the Anglican Church, a pew that's arranged in the North Gallery of St. Philip's Church in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, which has been called the Westminster Abbey of America. This church has, so you can get your own pew. Now, the amount of money involved is not stated by Mr. Volk, so you'll have to work that out yourself in a private conversation. But there is a pew available in the North Gallery of St. Philip's Church today, 250 years ago in 1775. So thank you to him for his 99 and 1% sponsorship today. So let's get to our top five. As always, a great big thank you to the hard-working graphics department of Historical Solutions. Once again, they've come up with a beautiful depiction of number 5 of our top 5. And here's how we're starting. So, Kumeyaay. The Kumeyaay native tribe. That's long time, eons, centuries inhabitants of the San Diego River Valley in what's now very southern California. The Kumeyaay tribe is having difficulties today, 250 years ago. They've been abused, mistreated, disrespected, and just downright trodden on by Spanish soldiers and Spanish Catholic officials who have come into the valley about 5 years ago and built a presidio, which is a kind of a quasi-fort church communal structure there that Spain and Spanish officials and Spanish colonizers have been kind of peppering throughout the Pacific coast of what's now Mexico and California. So the Kumeyaay have seen their women raped. The Kumeyaay have seen their men, women, and children whipped with lashes that have ends with metal embedded in them. And things are reaching a boiling point with the Kumeyaay natives there. And so there's discussion, certainly in private, almost certainly at night, of what can we do against our Spanish oppressors. What can we do? Ask the Kumeyaay to themselves 250 years ago today in the San Diego River Valley of New Spain. So that's number 5 for today. As you know, I keep an eye on other unrest, other examples of social, political, economic unrest, and religious too for that matter, around the world that coexist with what is going on in the British colonies. In today's installment, we're looking at the Kumeyaay natives, and other times we've looked at India, and other times we've looked in China and certain parts of Africa, and on and on. So this is not anything that's unique as a condition of life to the British coast of North America. So try to keep that in perspective. That's number 5. Let's go to number 4 of our top 5. And this is going to be In the Second Continental Congress, which is now in roughly its third week of service, its third week of work in Philadelphia. The Second Continental Congress being brought together, delegates, there's over 60 of them now, delegates trying to harness and shepherd and cat herd colonial resistance and protest and countermeasures against British imperial policy. The Second Continental Congress is at the top of the organizational chart, I guess you'd say, of the American Union that has existed since last fall, 250 years ago. Well, John Jay, one of the delegates from New York, he's got two other folks with him, fellow delegates, but Jay is the primary guy we're talking about today in number 4. He has written an official letter, an official communication, an official outreach to the people of Canada, the province, the colony of Canada, asking them, encouraging them, and recruiting them to join in as kind of the 14th colony of resistance and protest and pushback and union, the 14th colony of union, potentially, against British imperial authority and rule. He sends this, he drafts this letter in the name of the Second Continental Congress, and he puts forth arguments in the name of the Second Continental Congress. And once we tweak it a bit, there's not much really to tweak. As you look at the final version, you can find it online. Once we tweak it, off it goes. We've got translations in French and in English. So we're going to try to hit both reading populations, both decision-making populations in Canada. The argument's pretty much what you would expect, which is you're colonists like us, you have rights like us, we're in America like us and you, and we're all together, and across the ocean they're trying to deny us our rights, and we need to stand together and stand firm for a new way of living in terms of how we govern and how we are governed. So that's the letter that John Jay is going to write to the folks in Canada. That's number 4. Very closely related, and this is why I have these paired up. Very closely related is number 3 in our top 5. Number 3 is the Second Continental Congress, 250 years ago. As we're doing the J letter, as we're doing a few other things that are very important in continuing the resistance and solidifying the opposition to British authority and crystallizing what the future can look like for this new American Union, 30 of the delegates get up and walk out. 250 years ago this week. Now, specifically, who goes? Nobody knows. Specifically, over what particular one issue at 1 hour of the day? Nobody knows. But we know they walked out, and they know they were upset. We can infer, I think, that they don't like the course of things. They don't like, perhaps even some of the things like reaching out to Canada, some of the harder-edged kinds of things. We don't know. We do know, I think this is fair, very fair to say, had it been the more radical, edgier, stronger voiced, and stronger muscled pro-colonial rights, pro-American rights delegates, Sam Adams, John Hancock, and we can go down the list, George Washington, and others, had it been them, they would have said, this is why we walked out. They didn't say a word. So I think we can deduce that who walks out are the non-radicals, the non-edgy, if you will, group. So, you know, the appearance, some of the delegates have really fallen over themselves to write back home and say, God, we're unified. We're so unified. We're just really the most unified bunch you've ever seen. Richard Henry Lee is one of the ones of Virginia who writes that in a letter. I don't know, man. If you got 50% of your group walking out at one point, I don't think unified works as a statement. That's the appearance. We'll come back to that word. That's the appearance that they want to convey. But the reality, not there. It's not quite there. So that is number 3. I think that's a very important point. Now we're going to go on to number 2, and we're going to make a shift. Number 2 in our top 5. So we just had San Diego River Valley, number 5. We just had a pair of Philadelphia Second Continental Congress items, 4 and 3. Now we're going to come up to 2 and 1, and we're going to have a pair of Boston-related items. And here we go. Number 2 is a secret mission military operation carried out by John Stark, a colonel from New Hampshire. He's taking some of the New Hampshire men, and he's going on, about 300 or so, I think, going on to Hog Island and Noodle Island just outside of Boston, in Boston Harbor, and they're going to round up some cattle, and they're going to either kill them or drive them back to the colonial lines that are surrounding Boston, the 20,000 men that have surrounded Boston after Lexington, Concord, and Old Bay Road last month, and Paul Revere and everything, and they've got them surrounded, and so they want to cut off supplies. They want to cut off anything that's available to the British, at least via land, that they could continue to sustain themselves with. So they're going to grab the cattle, they're going to grab some hay that's there, and anything else that's not dead or nailed down or rooted or whatever it is, and haul it away so the British can't use it. It's a secret military operation. Stark's group does it over the course of about a 12-hour span of time. There's some problems that emerge with the British responding to this, and so they send out some Marines and a couple of naval vessels to react to what they're seeing on Hog and Noodle Islands. And so the colonial side then has to send out a group to try to not rescue, but support, protect, and help bring back Stark's force. That second group is led by Israel Putnam of Connecticut, long-time French and Indian War veteran, very well known in New England, a guerrilla fighter from that war 15 or so years ago. So he takes a group out, kind of rescues, supports, protects, brings Stark's bunch back in the course of it. Putnam wades out into the salt water about waist deep, maybe even a little deeper, and confronts one of those British naval vessels that strands itself on a sandbar or something. He confronts this vessel and says, we're going to capture you, but we'll give you clemency and all of that. They yell back at him, probably curse at him and all the rest. And then Putnam wades back off of that and back on shore, soaking wet, in late May. There's an exchange of fire, very dangerous moment for Putnam to have done all this. That's just kind of how he is. He's not afraid of that type of risk, that type of danger. He wasn't in the old war, and he's not now. And it's a very public display of his nerve and courage and daring, and it's a real boost when you combine what Stark does, getting the cattle and getting the hay and a successful operation, and you combine that with what Putnam does with this display of kind of in-your-face type of courage. It's a real boost to those 20,000 guys who've just shown up with guns and swords and knives and hatchets and whatever else to surround the British in Boston. So that's number 2 on our list of the top 5. And now we come to, there's no drum roll, yeah, there is. There's number 1 on the top 5 list for today. About a day ahead, maybe 2, not much, 24, 36, or 48 hours ahead of Stark's and Putnam's operation, military op. 3 British generals arrive with 4,500 more redcoats as reinforcements. The 3 British generals, William Howe, Major General, Henry Clinton, Brigadier General, John Burgoyne, Brigadier General. Veterans, pretty well regarded. Howe, very well regarded, very well known in the French and Indian War from the redcoat perspective. He was an officer then. Putnam knows him, in fact, and he knows Putnam. The 3 generals show up with these 4,500 troops, and Major General Thomas Gage, who's in command of British forces right now that are penned up, as I said, in Boston, welcomes them ashore. So now we've got a quartet of generals, redcoat generals. This is a very important leadership thing, and I'm watching your times, and I'll end this soon, but I want to take a second. Okay, your Gage. You've been in charge since last summer. Nothing has really gone well since that point in time. We're coming up almost on a year now. It's about 10 months, 9, 10 months. And you've just seen things very, very unevenly unfold, very shakily progress. No one could claim that there's been improvement. No one could claim that from a British perspective there's been any kind of enhancement of the situation from the Redcoats' point of view. Now you got 3 guys showing up. Peers and they're all colleagues, right? Generals. They show up. Hey, good to see you. 3 of us. Brand spanking new, coming off of England. Okay, now it's the 4 of you. So what was a 1-person operation is now a 4-person leadership operation. And you've just had the Stark and Putnam stuff happen. Gage dismisses it, but there's a certain fiasco nature to it as well, where the colonists are kind of parading around, and this one guy's in the water up to his waist, and he gets away, and there's cheering, and who knows what all. Then they know what the reports are coming back from the American and colonial camps. They know that the morale is up. So now it's the 4 of you. Okay. How do we plan? And who plans? And who signs off on the plans? And who's really responsible for the plans? Now, if you're Gage, what do you have to put on the table? You have your experience on the ground right now. If you're the 3 other guys, Howe, Clinton, and Burgoyne, what do you have to put on the table? You're fresh from England. You know the latest political news. You know the latest political winds of the ultimate decision makers in the imperial crown. Which one of those takes precedence? Because something will. Now you can't say, well, Dan, they'll collaborate. Yeah, they'll say that in the reports, but in reality, something's going to take precedence of that. Okay, that's number 1. Now, thanks for our top 5. Last thing, what's the big idea, Dan? What's the big idea that kind of brings some of this together into a whole? Here's the big idea. To go back to a word that I used for, what was it? Number 3, appearances. Appearances in leadership. What do you think of when you think of the word appearances? Are there certain additional phrases? We got to keep up appearances. We got to put in an appearance. There's a lot of things that come along with the word appearances from a leadership perspective. It has the appearance of something. I think appearances is a very important thing to consider relative to our top 5. The appearance of unity, the appearance of bravery, the appearance of control, the appearance of a magnanimous outreach, the appearance of unchallenged imperial authority and power, or just unchallenged power. The appearance, the appearance, the appearance. So from a leadership perspective, I ask you to think about, how does the appearance of anything or anyone, including yourself, fit in your leadership right now? The appearance. And if we want to take a second to think about that nationally, what's the appearance of things nationally? Is there an appearance of things? I really always enjoy our time together. I've gone a little smidge or 2 longer than normal, but I don't know, I just kind of wanted to. So this is Dan Miller, Historical Solutions LLC. Thanks for watching episode 30. We got 31 coming up right around the corner. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you very soon.